Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week 8 of our leadership development Zoom. We are talking about we're currently reading the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I really appreciate everyone's commitment because here we are, like I said, week 8, really week 9, but we took a week off for convention. But really excited about sharing some of the thoughts, about the law of the picture and the law of buy-in are the 2 chapters that we're going to go through today. And as usual, I wrote down some things that I was thinking of as I was reading the book and highlighting and taking notes. And I have about 5 points or 5 keys to remember, if you will, about these different chapters and stuff. So the law of the picture right up front, what I really appreciate about this is what people do. People do what people see. And that reminds me of so many times we've heard the comment of I'd rather watch a leader than listen to one any day, right? Because actions speak louder than words. So, followers doubt sometimes what people say, but they usually believe what they do, and what they see. Because, like I said, it's an example. It's leading that way. It's making sure that you're doing the thing that you're asking others to do. And this actually is applicable, like in a family environment, in a friendship environment, and in business, of course, especially in a team building business, sports teams, athletic environment, just different things of that nature. So the thing is that we want to make sure that we are covering these 5 areas. And the first one is number 1. The first key, I guess, to remember is to lead by example. That's something that kind of jumped out at me when I was reading through this book, and that's what the law of the picture is. And here's what happens, because when you lead by example, your actions speak louder than words, and people are more likely to follow, what they see you doing as a leader rather than what you tell them to do. And I think it's important because make sure your actions are matching your words. Make sure you are, congruent in your activities and the things that you're saying and the things that you're doing. Make sure that they match up. Walk the walk. Don't just talk the talk. There are people that do that. There's folks out there that talk a lot. And I can remember, in the company that we're in, most of us on the Zoom are in Legal Shield, and as we go back, all the way. As I go back, because like I said, I'm a little over 30 years in the business now, I can look back at when we first started. There was a lot of people that talked the talk, but we didn't have a lot of the internet wasn't there, and we didn't have a lot of reports that were being developed. There was not a lot of recognition that was happening, but there was people saying, "Yeah, I'm making all this money, and I'm doing all this." But then when computer and technology caught up, and they started posting these leaderboards and these, income ring programs and stuff like that, a lot of people got called out for just talking the talk and not walking the walk. So that's how we keep score in many businesses, right? We keep score with, by how much money we make, by how many people we help, because we can't make any money unless we're helping people with what we do. And that's what I love about where we're at. So just make sure we're walking the walk, we're doing the thing, so that we can, continue to grow. But don't ever compare yourself. Don't get stuck in that spot where you're comparing yourself to somebody else and then getting down on yourself. Because sometimes we each need to make sure that we give ourselves some grace, okay, and some permission to take the time to get to the level of success that you want to get to. I think it's important for each of us to do that, because sometimes, we're always, I think in most cases, we're always harder on ourselves than anybody else. So that's really important that we do, we make sure we take our journey, but make sure that your actions are congruent with what your goals are, and what you're saying and what you're sharing, because we have to share what we're feeling in order to be held accountable. And sometimes it's just even to hold ourselves accountable, you share it with people that you trust, that are in your inner circle, which is what we talked about last week in the law of the inner circle. So you want to make sure that you are being held accountable and you're doing the thing. So number 2, I would say that I got from this was authenticity. Be authentic. In the law of the picture, because what happens is people, will when you're authentic and consistent with those actions, if there is a disconnect between the leader and what they do, it can erode trust and credibility with your team members or your family or the people that are around you, your inner circle. So leaders have to do what they ask their team or followers or family to do. So leaders need to be doing the thing. Okay. So be authentic. I think that's really important for each of us to make sure that our authenticity doesn't, or lack of authenticity doesn't erode the trust and the credibility that you want as a leader, leading by example and being out there, being out in front and being on the scoreboards and doing the thing that you're supposed to do. And again, it's more important for ourselves. So number 3, I'd say was set standards. Set the standard as a leader. We all set goals, right? But yesterday's goals need to become today's standards. And that's something that I've often thought about is like, I'll set a goal for something like Performance Club. Okay, you set a goal for Performance Club in our company, and once you achieve it, it needs to become your standard. You guys have heard me say this before. It's not like we wake up in the morning to set a goal to brush our teeth, right? It's like, it's just I hope it's just your standard that you do when you start your day. Otherwise your family may not be very happy to be around you. So make sure you set the right standards and you do the thing, because leaders, they set the standard for like acceptable behavior and performance within the team. Remember, people are watching you. They don't necessarily say anything, but they are definitely watching. I saw a meme one time, or I saw something that was written. It might have been a meme, and it's like, how Instagram has your story and now Facebook has your story, and then you have your posts. Now you can either put a post or a story or both. But what you can always see is like the number of likes you get on a post, and then you can also see how many views you got on your story. And many times you get a lot more views on your story. Not to say everybody watches the entire story. Maybe it's just like sharing something or an event coming up or promoting something. But what it says is on this meme, it says people are definitely, they may not like what you're doing, but they're definitely watching. And so they're watching the stories, they're looking at the stories, and they're not necessarily hitting like on it, if you've ever noticed that. And it's interesting because they're watching you, but they're not necessarily saying anything. So make sure that you hold yourself accountable to all of this and be authentic. And then you set the right standards in your team, to let them know, because that can inspire and motivate your team in the right way when you strive for excellence, and it pushes them to strive for excellence, and it pushes them to raise their standards. It's like when my girls were growing up, I have 3 daughters, for those that don't know. And when they were growing up, I would take them out on dad-daughter dates, especially when they were little girls. And I would open the door for them, and I would, treat them the way that I wanted them to expect how a man is supposed to treat a woman, right? And so for me, that was really important, because I wanted them to have high standards and not to settle. And so, that seems to, it's worked so far on one out of 3. So we're batting 300. So that's good. If I'm batting 333 in the major leagues, I'm doing well. But I will tell you that make sure that you do set that. So yesterday's goals need to become today's standards. And so when you accomplish that and you're doing the right activity to do that, you can set the right standards for your team. So that's part of the law of the picture, that you're painting this vision, for what you want the team to collectively accomplish, but everybody individually has to play their part. Okay. And I think that you gain, which is number 4, you earn or gain influence, which leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, but you gain influence through your action, not necessarily through your speak, not necessarily through your talk and how you're doing it. So the law of the picture, it acknowledges leadership is influence, but one of the most powerful ways to influence others is through your actions. And so again, it's walking the walk, not talking the talk. So that was number 4, influence through action. And then the 5th one that kind of jumped out at me was so learn anything that you're attending, like we just got back from our big conference in Oklahoma City, but any event that you go to, even if it's church on Sunday, if it's extracurricular class that you're taking, or reading a good book or listening to a good audio series, learn as a teacher would learn. And what I mean by that is I remember when I first sat down to look at what this business was all about that most of us are in. And when Dave Savola came over and sat down and gave the presentation, I remember specifically thinking, when he was presenting the very first time, I was watching him not as a prospect or a student. I was watching him like I was going to be doing what he's doing. So I was trying to learn as a teacher would learn. So I was trying to learn the things that he was doing so that I would know how to do it. So I watched him 3 times. He did the same thing 3 times in a row. And then I started doing the same 30 things, and I started having success as a result of doing what he was doing, because he already had the success. So I was almost like a human copy machine, right? I was parroting him, and I was mirroring his actions. And so that's what I was trying to do, is learn as a teacher would learn. And so that helped me, really grow. So leaders teach their team members to do the same thing by setting a positive example through their actions, their attitudes, and work ethic, right? So we can actually inspire others to emulate their behavior by teaching them this and help them strive for success. So when we have a team, when I knew that, we all go through the 4 phases of learning. It's like, first, the first thing you do is you learn the business, okay, as a student. Then you take activity knowledge. So you learn how to do the business by doing it. And then there's the teaching knowledge, where you start teaching others how to do it. And so then is the next phase, where you have other people in your team teaching the things that you're teaching. So the example is, the more leadership that you're growing within your organization, the biggest goal in our business is to replace yourself as fast as you can. And so if you can replace yourself and get out of the way and get your ego out of the way, and don't let yourself get in your own way, your success will happen for you, because you want the business to take off. So a leader says, let's go, not you go. A leader says, let's go, instead of you go. Hey, go do this. No, let's go do this. Big difference between the two. You're accomplishing the same thing, hopefully, but you're even maybe accomplishing more because you're actually willing to do that. And so in the book, they talked about the Band of Brothers, the book, the movie, or the mini series that I know Tom Hanks was one of the producers on it. And I forget who the other one was, but you guys probably know, and you probably put it in the chat. But basically what they were saying in there was that the first leader they had was a terrible leader of this group, of the platoon. And then the second one was, he was there and he was doing everything, and he was leading by example. And if he wanted them to rush and go towards the fight, then he was the first one there. Steven Spielberg. Thank you, Bill. He was the first one to actually get out there and run towards it. And then the rest of the team followed, because he was trying to get them to go. And he was saying, hey, let's go. We got to take that hill. We got to do this. We got to, in Normandy. And he was the one that actually started to go. And everyone, he inspired everybody else to do that in there. So it's the same concept. So I used to watch Dave Savola, at the very beginning, and he was just doing it. He was not preaching. Matter of fact, there was no training. It was like, he's like, I remember somebody specifically asking him at a presentation one time, said, he said, when's the training? He goes, you're in it. We were at a briefing. He goes, this is all you need to know. He said, put people in front of me, and that's the training. So the more people you invite, the more money you're going to make, because I'm going to do your job for you. And now we have an audio of this presentation, so get people to listen to it. And that was it. And it was like, and then he would just say, okay, you want to invite somebody, and he shared his invite script, show 15 minutes, you may or may not be interested, and teach them how to get enrolled. So leaders teach their team, by setting that positive example. So basically that law, is an example of how a leader's actions can impact a team. And then when they have that respect, when they have that influence, and they've earned that, then they can paint the vision and the main goal of what they're trying to accomplish. And so I think, like, within our team, within whatever team that you have, your goal should be to produce, not only earn the ring, but to produce more ring earners than any other team, because that's how we keep score. All right. So that's the first part that I would say from the law of the picture. And I'll just review them real quick, just in case somebody missed them. But number one was lead by example. Number two is be authentic, because your authenticity, if it's a lack of authenticity, it can erode trust. And you don't want to, you want to promote trust by being authentic. Set standards, set the standard, is number three. Number four is influence through action, by doing that. And then number five is learn as a teacher learns. So, and teach other people how to teach, empower others to take your place or to step into the same type of spot that you're in. And that's something that's important. Instead of enabling, you empower somebody to do that. So the law of the buy-in, I love this. People buy into the leader and then the vision, which is kind of what we're moving into now, is building trust. Number one is building trust and credibility. So I have 5 things I would also say about this. I just try to keep it simple for everybody, and then maybe share some stories along the way. But building trust and credibility with your teammates is something that's critical, because first, people buy into you, okay, before they buy into what you're trying to accomplish. So they buy into you over what the organization or the team needs to accomplish. So the way to do this is to make sure that you build friendships, okay, which is number 2, is building relationships. And my dad used to tell me all the time, Michael, remember this: if you never remember anything else I say in this business, friendship first. Friendship first, because when you have established a friendship, you're building that trust, because a positive relationship with your team members, and when they respect you and you have a good relationship and you communicate with them, you can rally that support to go towards the vision, to go, getting the buy-in from them, hence the name of the law. So build that trust and credibility. Number 2 is build relationships, and remember, friendship first, because effective leadership really involves, building those strong relationships with each team member, and don't just count on text. Don't just count on emails or text. And this is kind of applicable to prospecting too, is get to know the person, especially when they're in your team. Call them, talk to them, get to know who they are, get to know about their family, get to know about what their goals are, what their dreams are, why they started in the business. What is it that is motivating them? And so when we're talking on the phone and we're getting to know people, there are things that we can take notes on and remember. So when someone says, hey, I feel like quitting, you can turn around and say, well, I thought you wanted to blank, I thought you wanted to accomplish this for your wife or your spouse or your child. I thought you really wanted to do that for them. Did that change? And then they can think twice about, giving up. I read something one time that says, if you're tired of starting over, then quit giving up. If you're tired of starting over, then stop giving up. Just keep going. Even when you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, you got to keep going. Because there's really no other option. Because if you stop and you come back a year from now, you're going to kick yourself saying, man, if I had just kept going. And you know how many times I've heard that in my career? And it makes no, in any business, not just ours, but any business. If you're tired of starting over, then stop giving up. Stop quitting, because quitting never helped anybody. Okay. Number 3, lead with integrity. Integrity is everything. I've heard it defined as, what you do when no one else is looking. So that's really what true integrity is. It's demonstrating consistency between the words and their actions. It's congruency. It's doing the right thing ethically, morally, honestly, being transparent, being upfront in your behavior and your actions. It builds credibility, and people can get behind that. They trust that, because when there's a lack of trust, it probably comes from a lack of integrity or other actions that maybe shouldn't have happened. And I've seen that happen. with leadership too. And so make sure that you're following the right leader, and they're doing the right thing and they're helping people. It's like, I've had so many people come to me, having been the person up in front of the room, giving the presentation, saying, well, listen, I'm a prospect, but the person that invited me was, lives in a different state. And I want to work with somebody local, and I like your style, and I want you to, just to bring me into the business. I want to come in under you. And I'm like, that's not how we do it in our business. We do our business with integrity, with honor, and we're fully transparent. So what you need to do is get back with the person that brought, that sent you here, get registered with them, get them enrolled, and you're a part of the team here in Atlanta. You're a part of the team regardless, and we're going to work with you. Okay. We're going to be here. You're going to be able to jump on our Zooms. You're going to be able to jump on our training. You're going to be able to be a part of it. And you're going to feel like you're a part of the team. So we don't leave orphans. We try not to leave anybody as a quote unquote orphan in this business. So you are a part of the family. It's a Legal Shield family. That's what we do. And I think that in any business, you need to do that too. So number 4, communicate a vision. Once trust and credibility, are established, leaders can actually really be effective in their communication of the vision or the goal that the team is trying to accomplish. It can, you can inspire and engage team members to work towards that common purpose. So everybody's individually chasing their dreams while collectively building the team vision, the team goal, and everyone's striving in that area. So again, it goes back to, let's try to create as many ring earners, the most ring earners in any other team out there. And what happens if that is our common goal, and that's what we're trying to do, and we fall short? We still have massive success. It's like when you're shooting for the moon, but you don't quite get there, you still land amongst the stars, right? It's like we hear those sayings, and I think it's great to have that. And you set that as your standard. It's like, yeah, we just expect you to fast start qualify and level up to senior associate in the first 4 or 5 days. We expect you to advance to manager within your first couple of weeks. That's just an expectation. So we set our posture. We have that professional posture, but we set the expectations on that new associate when they come on board. But we also want to set expectations with our existing associates. It's like, how long do you want to be a manager? How long do you want to stay at senior manager? How long do you want to stay director? Because it's completely up to you. It's up to you to decide when you want to take the next advancement, when you want to level up, when you want to earn that next bonus. It's up to us, because everything comes down to numbers. It's how many prospects are you doing? I mean, how much prospecting are you doing? How many presentations are occurring in your business? And how many things are you doing to do that, right? How many times are you? So communicate that vision of having more ring earners within your team than any other team in the business, or to produce 1 ring earner a month. To start with something, but set a goal and have the team rally around that and get them to buy into it. But you build that trust by painting the picture first, right? Which is why I love these 2 chapters. And the last one, number 5, is to inspire commitment. I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking about, last week we were in Oklahoma City and we were motivated, right? But like I said on Monday night on our Zoom, motivation gets you going. Motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. And part of discipline is being committed and having a commitment, a real deep down burning desire, a commitment somewhere inside you that says, I'm not going to stop. You can't stop me. And you inspire commitment by doing that. While your team is watching you and you're out there making it happen, it highlights the importance of that inspiration and that commitment and buy-in from the team members. They're going to do that when they believe in their leader. When they believe in that, it's like, how could you not believe in someone like Dave Savola? How could you not believe in somebody like Darnell Self or Brian Carruthers? How could you not believe in somebody like Don Thompson? How could you not believe like Larry Smith or, so many other great leaders that we have in our company? It's like, how can you not? It's like, because they're doing the right things. They're motivated. They're engaged. They're committed. They're achieving shared goals and their success with that. So really, the law of the buy-in is about building trust. It's about building credibility with the team, and having positive relationships and building rapport and building friendship and creating non-genetic family members. Right. So that's kind of what I feel like when we were in Oklahoma City. It was like, it just felt like we were there, like at a family reunion, when people come up and give you a big hug and you're taking pictures, and it's so cool that we are able to do that. So let me go through these 5, and then I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to ask everybody to go down to reactions at the bottom of your Zoom and raise your hand for any comments that you may, well, you guys already know, you're already doing it. Thank you. I appreciate that. So the first one, the law of the buy-in, is the building trust and credibility. Number 2 is building relationships, friendship first, right? Number 3, lead with integrity. Number 4 is communicate that vision to the whole team. And number 5 is inspire commitment. So that's what we have. So I'm going to open up to some comments. I see Mr. John Wynn first. Let me send it out to you, my friend. You should be good.
Awesome. Great job, Michael. Just real quick, a couple things that really jumped out at me. I loved in the beginning the law of repetition. It takes a giant killer to produce other giant killers. He was talking about David and Goliath, and you were talking about lead by example, go out there and just expose people, open groups, be a giant killer, and you'll find some of those. That was kind of neat for me. Another thing I saw in the book that really this chapter blew me away was GE spends $500 million in leadership development. What a clue there, right? Here's a company doing that. They called it the Harvard of corporate America. Pretty neat. Another thing that stuck out with me, it takes one to know one to grow one. Boom, right? Just
It takes one to know one to grow one.
It takes one to know one to grow one. And then I love the thing you were talking about earlier, and that stuck out with me in the second chapter. The guy was asking him, "Do you think my people will buy into my vision?" And then he said, "First, tell me, do the people buy into you?"
Right.
Wow. I mean, it was just like, boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just like punched him right in the face. Do they
Right.
buy into you? Right. And I say this a lot. People want to buy from who they like, but they worded it a little different. People want to go along with people they get along with.
Go along with who they get along. Go
Yeah,
along
and
with them. Yeah.
you talked about that. Getting to know them, getting to know their family, things they like. Call them. Just
Yeah.
I could go on and on, Michael. This has just been great, man. I feel like I should send you a check or something. I can't believe I'm getting this for free, buddy. But thank you, man, and I'll get off.
I appreciate you, man. It's like it's the same thing with you. It's like, you had Larry and Kay Gregory, me, and we all built friendships and stuff, and they were committed to doing that. I think about talking to Larry Smith every single day, once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times a day for the first year. And that made a big difference. So, all right. Appreciate your comments, John Wynn, new $200,000 ring earner in our company. Congratulations, brother. Mikhail Hancock, Mr. Hancock, out to you, my friend.
Yes, man, Mr. Dorsey. Look, I can't afford to send you a check just yet. I'm working on it. But man, I said I wasn't sure how we can get any higher, but the bar consistently continues to get raised here every call. So my quick takeaways really quickly, and I wanted to give a quick story. When I served in the military, we had an individual. He was a E5 or above, so a staff non-commissioned officer. For those of you all that don't know, he was in charge of some people. He consistently failed his PFTs, but he harped on how much he was going to leave the Marine Corps and go and become a Green Beret. And of course, his platoon was always failing their PFTs. And yet we had a colonel that would come out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and tell all of the gate guards to go and sit down while he raved traffic, no matter the weather, every Sunday. And he would bring dinner. And you saw the difference in the respect that those two leaders got based off of what they modeled and what they did for the organization. And so my quick takeaways that I got from tonight, and I think it brings them both together as well, is that one of the important things about leadership is it involves casting that vision, casting the vision. And sometimes, and I can admit, I have fell into management mode before and lost that vision. And sometimes that happens, when we get those positions, we fall into management mode. And we got to remember that as leaders, people have to rely on us. They rely on the things that we do. And not only do they rely on us, the vision that we cast provides guidance to our organization. Like you said, leaders don't say, go do this. They say, let's go. Let's grow together. Let's grow together. And the last thing that I'll add in there is that the true direction in an organization comes from the vision of the leader. It comes from the vision of the leader. And when that leader accepts that vision and begins to model it, the people will not only catch the vision, but they'll begin to act on it as well. And then everything becomes a reality. So, man, this was such a huge, oh my gosh, I am excited and ready to go. Mr. Dorsey, back over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hancock. I appreciate you and appreciate your leadership as you continue to grow. It's exciting to watch your story grow. Let's go out to the great state of Arizona, and I don't see his sling on, so hopefully your shoulder's feeling better, Mr. Bill Harrell.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate you. Man, I tell you what, I am so excited about this call every week. This book is amazing. I appreciate your leadership and everything that you do. And about my shoulder, it's still there. Now the left one's hurting. So
okay. I can't hear you very well.
You can't?
Is it just me?
Yeah, it's you.
Okay. It is me?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hang on. Give me a second.
I can't hear very well either.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly. All right. Turn your video off, Bill. Yeah.
Okay. I switched.
Yeah.
So
We can hear you, not see you, but that's fine. We'd rather hear you than see you.
I don't know where my picture went. But anyhow, it doesn't matter. So the takeaway on this, on the first part, the law of the pitcher, and we've heard this before, and you can't hear me? Brenda's yelling at me down the hall. I can't hear you. Wow.
You sound better. Just do your thing.
Okay. Still listen to her.
We love you, man. We love you.
Hey, Michael said it, not me.
We're good.
My takeaway on this is a picture says 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And especially with these two platoon leaders that they were talking about in the beginning, and your team's gonna want to follow you if they're seeing you doing that. So I like this chapter because it really opened up my eyes on a couple of things. Even when you're a leader, and we all fell. Nobody's perfect, but we have to really step up our game and be more of a leader for the team because they're brand new. Majority of them, some of them, they're old on our team. I mean, we've been around for over 20 years, but we need to step up and help them. Just like we've always said also, when they're brand new, they're babies, and we need to help carry them to that front line. The second one on the law of buy-in, what I took out of that, I'm trying to simplify everything because I can talk all night. People don't care what you know until you care about them, that they know that you care about them. And we say that all the time. That's really the buy-in. Once your team member, your people, whether it's in this business or friends or your neighborhood, once they know that they really care, that you really care about them, then they're going to probably start hanging around more, start following you, and start to want to do what you do. So those are the two takeaways I took out of these two chapters.
Very good. I appreciate that, Bill. And, you and Brenda, are masters at that in terms of getting to know people, talking to them, going to visit them. And that's why your team has done so well over the years. So, all right. Thanks, Bill. Let's go to Miss Myrna Johnson. Miss Johnson, you should be able to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much for these calls. They're really life-changing, business-changing, I should say. So I wanted to talk about the law of buy-in, is especially in page 185, is talking about the process of people buying into us. The point number 2 blew my mind because it says that people don't buy into leaders who can produce and have no track record, right? And I was thinking, I've been in Legal Shield for 7 years, but I cannot say I've been doing Legal Shield for 7 years. I would say a year ago, I decided to do some changes. Therefore, I don't think that I have a track record that would impress people. So I guess my point is question to you because I would like to have your intake, because I think that for me to prove my competence, it will help me to first learn about my company, learn the history behind it, know what is being said about it, learn as much as I can about the services and product that we offer, learn how to become a bridge between the member and the member and Legal Shield, the member and even their attorneys, you know, learn to be there to help them. Because if they see into my story, they are going to see no track that is going to impress them. So because I'm lacking that, I'm thinking that maybe I can compensate by sounding knowledgeable and projecting being knowledgeable. I would like to have your input in that.
Definitely. And so I would just tell you, it's not all on you. Okay. And what I mean by that is for you to say, listen, I enrolled 7 years ago. Life happened for me. I've got business. I've got a job. I've got a lot of other commitments. So I really wasn't able to start until about a year ago. And so I'm just, getting going as I get started. I know a lot about the business and I'm starting to build the business, but let me tell you about the success that we're already having. Okay. And so you make sure that you're a mirror, or you're just a traffic cop where you're just directing in this direction, because it's not about you and me. Because I don't want, because my story is the opposite of that. And like Mr. Brown, who's up next, his story is the opposite of that, where he's already had massive success. And some people just don't buy that. They're like, there's no way he's making that kind of money. And so sometimes it can come back against you that way. So don't make it about you, make it about others. That's how you learn other people's stories. There's just about 400 people that are making at least $50,000 a year in our profiles of success. Learn their stories and start sharing those stories, and just to make sure that you're utilizing that as your tool to overcome the story that you haven't created yet. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. That's exactly what I would do, because that's how I started too. When I was 23, I started this business. I'm talking to, 40, 50-year-old professionals. And in my head, I just didn't have the credibility. I didn't feel like I did. So that's what I learned, was like, well, it's not so much about me, but let me tell you about Mr. Dave Cibola. And so I would point in another direction, because back then we only had 1 or 2 people that were having great success. The rest of us were just starting off. But now it's like, we have no excuse. We got this great book. And I know Mr. Brown's up next here, Mr. Ulysses and Lynette Brown. They do a phenomenal job utilizing and promoting the profiles of success. So let me unmute you, sir. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. Incredible job. And I'll just say, before I share my quick thoughts to Ms. Johnson, is that this is a business that you can fail your way to the top. Yeah. Now, you think that your story may not be impactful, but I guarantee you your story is impactful to some people. I'm going to just say to you, as my sister in the business, don't be hard on yourself, because some of the plays that I know that I used to do back in college, and I was doing some monologues with some people, and the person I was doing a monologue with forgot their lines. Because of the way I studied my lines, I kind of remember what they needed, and I would give them a lead-in word to help them remember their lines. But nobody in the audience knew that they had messed up on their lines, except the people who were backstage. So don't ever be so hard on yourself, Ms. Johnson, thinking that you don't know what you don't know. But this is the type of business where we can have course correction. And because of a book like this and a Larry Smith and a Michael Dorsey, you can within yourself check yourself, but don't publicly think that you're not on point because of your business and you've been here 7 years. So you can mess up 99% of the time and still put some rings on your fingers. So don't put too much pressure on yourself, sweetie.
Love it.
And I'd just like to share just quickly, these 2 chapters will strongly resonate with me because I love this book so, and I'm just grateful, Dorsey, to you and Mr. Smith for doing what you do, because what this does, it actually gives each and every one of us an opportunity to break down this book in cliff notes. We get to get cliff notes from how you guys break it down, we get more clarity from the books, and then we can see really how much have we lifted our lid, because we know the law of the lid is critical, but the law of the picture and the law of the buy-in midway of the book, now it transits within ourselves to give us the impact that are we checking ourselves. That's what I love about this book so much, because we have to be leaders. And if you're not leading yourself, let me see, honestly, it'll be hard to lead a team. You know, so with buy-in or sharing the picture, and that's why we have to realize that either we're being sold by the person or the person is buying what we're offering. And that's why the picture is we have to know what Muriel that person is looking at in order to share with them the Muriel that we have, and that's giving them the picture of the Legal Shield model. And so I absolutely love that. So here we get the buy-in and the picture, it kind of coincides each other with 13 and 14. And so I love that, because I always say to people on the team, they'll say, let's go get this money, let's go. So I've always been a let's go person, and Ms. Brown and I, we always have led from the front. So that's why I appreciate, you know, the talks and challenges I have with Mr. Williams on the team, Mr. Ellis, all of our leaders within our organization, how we have fun competition with one another, because that also pushes and encourages you to be better. And that coincides with the buy-in, because the buy-in, it builds that trust and credibility in my team. They always wonder with Ms. Brown, is he always like that? And she said, yeah, I live with Mr. Legal Shield. He wakes up like this every single day. And you guys always see me happy, always see me smiling. And so what I encourage the team is not to carry our feelings on our shoulders, but understand that you're on your journey. And we always know that there's a story behind the story anyway. And so you have to have internal buy-in, because what I've seen so much, Mr. Dorsey, is that so many people allow personal family and friends to talk them out of their dream. And that's why with the buy-in that you mentioned and shared in your breakdown, that we have to paint the vision to the entire team, even though they may not see the vision. What we have to do as leaders, family, is not allow broke family and friends, and even the ones that's not broke. We can't even allow the family and friends that are doing well to shake our vision, because we know that we have something here absolutely amazing. So I know that we have a couple more people, but brother, I appreciate you, man, so much, because you have an example for us. You've been platinum since 1999, since Prince's song, and been doing a great thing from leadership, and starting at 23. That's huge for us bringing in our younger people, but to inspire and commit. And I'll just make this one last point, family. We can't commit like the chicken. The chicken drops an egg and keep it pushing. We have to commit like the pig. So to inspire people to commit, because the pig had to give it up from the rooter to the tutor. Wasn't no more pig when the pig laid down the commitment. So that's the kind of commitment, family, that we have to give. And that's why it just brings tears to my eyes when I hear John Wynn's story, because his story, no matter how much I hear it, brings tears to my eyes. Because I know when coming back and new $200,000 ring earner, buying homes and traveling with his daughter, he committed like the pig. He gave it all up. And so I just want to encourage the team to commit like the pig. And give it up from the rooter to the tutor. And I guarantee you, we're going to get all 17 rings. Appreciate it, sir, for allowing me to share.
Love it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. And that's a great thing about what we do, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have, folks like Mr. Brown. And let me tell you, just that alone, that's why we need to get our teams on here. You just got to make sure that you take some time to pick up the phone and call your team, build that friendship with them, get the law of the buy-in individually, so that collectively we come together like this and we hear a message from him, Mr. Brown, myself, or whoever else that we have, John Wynn, Miss Johnson being transparent about where she's at. I mean, it's good to hear these things, because then you know how to, overcome and move forward. So, all right, let's go to Zoom user. You should be able to unmute. All right. Let's lower your hand. All right. Let's go to Mr. Chuck Baker. I will unmute you. You should be able to unmute.
Thank you, Mike. I just want to say, mention about something you said here. you should sign with the person that got you introduced to the business. And when I started, I already knew about the business, but I found a person online, and we were talking about starting business for yourself, and they had mentioned it was back then prepaid legal. So I signed with them, and they were kind of new to themselves, so they didn't know a whole lot, but we got started out. Well, a couple of years after I got started, they dropped out. So I didn't have a team. So it was all part of the tag team. So I started following the tag team, and then I found groups closer to me, and I started going with them. And the point I'm going to make here is it doesn't matter what team you're on. If you can get to somebody that's close to you that you need help with, they'll be willing to help you. It's not, even though you see people come across the stage in the different groups and all the hoopla and all that, there's any team out there is going to be willing to help you out.
Right.
So just, it's all a big family.
Yep.
So just, it's a lot of fun to go across stage and see all the people jumping up and down, but in the end, it's, we're all in this together.
Yep. I love it. And I appreciate your comment, Mr. Baker. We appreciate you taking the time to do that. And, it's true, because we are all a part of something bigger than us. And I think that that's what, we're able to do when we're able to see people going across the stage and really receive that recognition. It's because most people in society are only recognized when they do something wrong. And so that's why people are so excited when they go across, when they go across the stage in our business, we're able to, see people have great success and do really well in the business. So I love that. I love it. I love it. So, all right, last comment we have is from Miss April Landon. Miss Landon, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. And again, thank you so much for hosting this and having this every Wednesday. It is truly amazing. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is, as well is, I love the coaching and the mentorship we get, but we have to apply what we learn. Knowledge is not just power, it's applying the power. And so I liked on page 173 where it says leaders tell, but never teach until they practice what they preach.
Yeah.
And I'm actually truly learning that even today. I started something newer with my team and helping them make their calls, to their prospects and things like that, kind of stepping a little bit out of my personal comfort zone, but it's actually a lot easier. I found it a lot easier, but, we go to these trainings constantly, I should say, year after year, but there's just something, I don't know about timing, but it's now clicking. But Miss Elizabeth Gardner said something not too long ago. She said, where would you be in the next 6 months if you did what you knew what to do for the next 6 months? And if you took all this training that you're giving us and we apply that, where would you be? And so I'm really excited. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing here for us. And one more quick thing is when we're out talking to people, just here recently, and I'm just sharing, and inviting them to take a look or something. So again, we're not saying everything, but people, they look at how you're talking, your music, right? Like Brian Carlos would say. So you can't sell a dream talking like a nightmare. So have fun. And anyways, thank you for letting me share. And thank you for being our coach and our mentor.
You bet. I appreciate that. Great comments, and appreciate you and all that you do for the team, because you're always there. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We appreciate you all for joining us. Now, next week, next Wednesday, same place, same, location, same time. We'll be talking about the law of victory, my hat, and the law of the big Mo, referring to momentum and how to gain that. So the law of victory, chapter 15, and the law of the big Mo on chapter 16. So thanks so much. Let's make it a great week and a productive one. Appreciate you guys, and happy May. All right. Take care.